You touched upon Swift, so let's go there. Is Swift a competitor?
Yeah. So Ripple decided early on that we wanted to be at kind of the infrastructure layer, and there's a whole bunch of strategic issues associated with that. One of them, quite frankly, is that if you work with regulated endpoints, that's where all the regulatory frameworks apply. KYC, know your customer, AML, anti-money laundering, all the acronyms. If you work just with regulated endpoints, they're making sure that that is the case. Companies like WeChat have to do that regulatory work themselves. Now Swift is kind of a competitor. It's slightly more complicated than that because Swift is really just messaging. When you send a Swift transfer, it's not liquidity. You're actually sending bank messages to banks that have liquidity. So to some degree, Citibank and HSBC, really the top two, JPM, those are the top three liquidity banks. And when you're sending Swift messages, you're sending messages to banks to release liquidity and making sure the debits and credits match. So to some degree, really boil it down, Ripple's competing with the liquidity of Citi and the messaging of Swift, but in one, because we're both messaging and liquidity. And at the end of the day, again, as I described, Swift was developed 50 plus years ago. It architecturally hasn't really changed. It does remain slow, days. It does remain, relatively speaking, expensive. And actually, interestingly, it's quite error prone. And part of that is just, it's a one-way messaging protocol. So if I fat finger Tassos and I put one S instead of two in the middle, I guess you have three S's, but that will bounce back. They'll say, no, that account name doesn't match that person. That's an error. Now, if you use modern technology, you would get a real time, you're typing in Tassos an account number, you get a real time, okay, does that account match? So the efficiency, we see, instead of a 6% error rate as reported for Swift, you see 10 bips of error, so 99.9% effective. So we think these are better technologies that can be applied broadly to the vast majority of, frankly, all of the banking system by selling it as a wholesaler, if you will. And therefore, if we don't compete with the WeChats, WeChat could be a customer of ours.
You look at crypto, and if I look back, crypto started as something that was more anti-regulation, anti-system following the financial crisis of '08, and yet you are an advocate of regulation.
When I first got exposed to crypto, there's no question that the perspective was anti-government. Bitcoin kind of came from that heritage. And I always thought these are amazing technologies, but if you wanted to have the broadest impact for the broadest population, you needed to work with the system and work with governments and work with regulators. So really since the beginning of Ripple's life, we've been engaging regulators globally. And that has, I think, been to our benefit for sure, in lots of different jurisdictions. The United States, interestingly, is really behind lots of other countries. And here in Davos, I've made the argument to the various sessions around crypto that we spend too much time talking about the U.S. regulatory framework and when you're clear about the framework, that allows entrepreneurs and investment capital to flow in because it reduces risk. When you don't know what that looks like, if you're an entrepreneur, one of the first pieces of advice I give people is don't start your company in the United States at this point until the rules are clear. Mm-hmm. Most crypto entrepreneurs, I find, they want to follow the rules of the road, but if you don't know what the rules of the road are, that makes it hard.
You make them up or you don't know where to be.
Yeah, so if you operate and start, we're a very global business. If you are a Swiss company, well, you know what the Swiss regulatory frameworks look like.
There is an issue and an open dispute between you and the SEC on your crypto coin, the XRP, whether that is a security or not. And I know that a lot of people are really waiting, and really the outcome is very important. What is your take on it? Where do you stand? What do you see the issues being there?
Yeah. Well, so first of all, it is very important, not just for Ripple, but really for the whole crypto industry. The U.S. is the largest economy in the world. Certainly, we want crypto to thrive as it is in other countries in the United States. The United States Securities and Exchange Commission has taken the position that Ripple's sales of XRP constitute an unregistered security sale. And it gets into this very nuanced legal definition of what is a security. We use XRP as a currency. We use it for cross-border settlement. It doesn't give you any rights or title or governance of Ripple. In fact, it's an open source technology that it's hard to think about. So if XRP is a security, it's a security of what company? Who should file the registration statement? If it's an open, should Ripple do that? I mean, the other frustrating part, two kind of just anecdotes on this. One, the only country on the planet, and we operate in 50 plus countries. The only country on the planet that has alleged that XRP is a security is the United States, which is odd when we're actually, Ripple's been profitable. We pay taxes in the United States. I'm a U.S. taxpayer, and it's just kind of like, wow, this is frankly, it's the reason why we are doing more and more outside the United States, both from a hiring. Our second largest office is now London. Now, on the case itself, we think the law is actually clear, and we think the facts are on our side. We think the law is on our side. And so we're actually quite optimistic. The case has been going on for about 2 years. It's fully briefed in district court, federal district court in the Southern District. We expect closure within months. When the judge gets the case, you don't have a timeline. So the judge will take the amount of time the judge wants. But I'm pretty optimistic. I do think it's important for the whole industry, and I'm looking forward to closure.